picture the scene for a second. You're standing on a block of synthetic rubber.
Right. The starting blocks.
Yeah, and it's not the silence of the stadium that gets to you. It's the noise inside your own head.
Oh, absolutely.
Your heart is just hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird. And you just know that the next 10 seconds will basically define the narrative of your entire life.
It's an incredible amount of pressure.
4 years of waking up in the dark, the vomit-inducing intervals, missed birthdays, the isolation, all of it distilled into a single violent burst of kinetic energy.
Which creates a cognitive load that is, frankly, almost impossible to simulate anywhere else. We are talking about a scenario where a millisecond isn't just a measure of time.
Right.
It's the difference between being a legend and being, well, a footnote.
And here's the real kicker with this deep dive we're doing today. We look at that lineup of 8 finalists, and physically...
They are clones.
Exactly. They're basically clones. The variance in muscle mass, fast twitch fibers, reaction time, it's all statistically negligible. They are all Ferraris.
Right. If you ran a simulation based purely on physiology, the race would be a dead heat every single time.
But it never is.
No, never.
Because someone always cracks, someone chokes, and someone else enters this, like, God mode flow state.
Yes.
And that's what we're digging into today. We are looking at a stack of sources that bridges a really weird gap.
It is a bit unusual, I'll admit.
It's the high-octane psychology of Tony Robbins combined with the brutal mental conditioning of Olympic gold medalists.
You've got the unleash the power within guy.
Right.
And the most disciplined athletic system on earth. But when you layer the Robbins frameworks over these Olympic training logs, you see this undeniable pattern.
Yeah.
The gold medal isn't won by the person with the best hamstrings. It's won by the person with the most stable identity.
Identity. That is such a loaded word, though. It feels a bit abstract for a track meet.
It does sound a bit philosophical at first.
I mean, surely if I run a 9.58, I'm the fastest, regardless of my internal narrative.
Right. You would think so. But the research argues that you literally cannot run a 9.58 if your internal narrative says you're a 9.9 runner.
Wait, really?
Your brain simply will not allow the body to execute it. This is the core concept of what the sources call the identity thermostat.
Okay, let's unpack this thermostat idea, because I've heard this thrown around in self-help circles, but the way these sports psychologists apply it is a lot more technical.
It is. It's based on cybernetics, which is control theory.
Yeah.
Think about the AC unit in your house.
Okay.
You set it to 70 degrees. That is your set point.
Yeah.
Now, if the room heats up to 90 degrees because, say, you threw a huge party...
Which, in this analogy, is me performing way above average, smashing records, hitting a flow state.
Precisely. What does the thermostat do?
It panics. It kicks on the cooling system to drag the temperature back down to 70.
Exactly. It views the heat, the success, as an error. It's a deviation from the norm. The sources we're looking at show that human performance works exactly the same way.
That is wild.
We all have an internal set point for success, wealth, athletic performance. If you start exceeding that set point, your subconscious mind doesn't celebrate.
It doesn't.
No, it engages a cooling mechanism to bring you back down to where you believe you belong.
That is so wildly frustrating. So you're saying an athlete could be physically capable of gold, but if their internal thermostat is set to bronze medalist, they will subconsciously sabotage themselves.
We see it constantly.
Wow.
Think about a tennis player serving for the match against a legend, and suddenly they double fault twice. Or a pro golfer missing a simple 3-foot putt.
Right. The physical skill didn't just vanish in thin air.
Exactly. The identity asserted itself. The brain says, wait, I'm not the guy who beats Nadal. I'm the guy who loses honorably in the semis. And the body obeys.
But isn't there a danger here of falling into, I don't know, magical thinking? Like, I just need to believe I'm the champion and the universe will provide.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Because I can believe I'm Usain Bolt all day long, but I'm still pulling a hamstring if I try to sprint.
That's a crucial distinction. We aren't talking about delusion. We aren't talking about manifesting without the work.
Okay.
We're talking about the filter through which you process pain and effort. If your identity is, I am a grinder.
Then you'll always find ways to make things hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if your identity is, I am a champion, your nervous system interprets the pressure of the finals not as a threat, but as a necessary environment for your existence.
So it actually changes the biological response to stress,
Fundamentally, look, uncertainty triggers cortisol. It triggers the fight or flight response.
which is bad for fine motor skill.
It shuts down the prefrontal cortex, the exact part of the brain you need for strategy and fine motor control.
Hmm.
That is what a choke is.
Ah.
But if you have absolute certainty in your identity, if you believe I am the gold medalist, the brain doesn't release cortisol. It releases dopamine and testosterone. You literally have a different chemical cocktail in your veins at the starting line.
That completely explains those I am declarations we saw in the research notes.
Mhm.
I always thought those were just pure hype. You see swimmers screaming in the locker room, talking to themselves in the mirror. It honestly looks a bit unhinged.
It looks unhinged because we are used to people expressing desires.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I win. I want to do well.
Right.
That an I am statement like, I am the greatest or I am a machine, that is a command to the nervous system. It's an instruction manual.
You're essentially closing the gap between the future and the present, telling your brain the event has already happened.
Because the brain is actually terrible at distinguishing between a vivid visualization and reality.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. If you vividly rehearse being the champion, engaging all your senses, your brain starts to lay down the neural pathways for that reality before you've even stepped on the track.
Okay, but let's be real for a second. Even the most perfectly recoded athlete has moments where the facade cracks.
Of course.
You're in the tunnel, you hear the crowd roaring, maybe your rival looks bigger and faster than you remembered, the fear creeps in, the thermostat tries to kick on. What happens then?
This is where we move from philosophy to pure mechanics.
Yeah.
You cannot think your way out of a panic attack.
Yeah, that never works.
The cognitive brain is too slow. And frankly, it's totally offline when you're in survival mode. You have to use state management.
And the outline calls this the pattern interrupt.
Yes. Think of a panic spiral, like a scratched record skipping. It just loops. I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose, I'm going to lose.
You can't just politely ask the record to stop.
You have to bump the turntable. You need a physiological jolt.
Is that why we see such bizarre behavior behind the starting blocks? Like, I was watching old footage of weigh-ins and warm-ups, and you see guys slapping their chests red, doing these explosive jumps.
Or that really aggressive breathing where they look like they're hyperventilating.
Yes, exactly that.
That is called radical motion. And it is completely deliberate. They are hacking the vagus nerve.
Tracking it.
When you slap your chest or shout, you are creating a massive sensory input. It forces the brain to snap out of the internal loop and pay immediate attention to the body. It resets the state.
So it's literally like a hard reboot for a frozen computer.
That is the perfect analogy. And the breathing, which is often a variation of intense rhythmic inhales, that changes the blood chemistry.
It dumps oxygen in.
It dumps oxygen into the system and forces the heart rate to sync up. You are hijacking your physiology to dictate your psychology.
Wow.
Most people wait to feel confident before they act. These athletes act radically to force the feeling of confidence.
Hijacking the physiology, I really like that. It implies that the body is just a vehicle you can steer if you know where the levers are.
Exactly.
But let's go deeper into the choke itself. We've all felt it, right? Maybe not at the Olympics, but in a big presentation or a difficult conversation. The room narrows, your mouth gets dry. Is a physical anchor really enough to stop that?
An anchor is a specific trigger you've conditioned. Think of Pavlov's dog.
You ring a bell, the dog salivates.
Athletes build their own bells. Maybe it's a specific way they adjust their goggles or tapping their thigh 3 times. They have spent months associating that exact physical touch with a state of peak performance. So when the fear hits, they fire the anchor and the nervous system remembers. Oh, right. We know this. It's go time.
So it's a shortcut, like a macro on a keyboard.
Yes, it creates instant access to resources. Without the anchor, you're drowning in the emotion of the moment. With the anchor, you instantly access the training you've done for 4 years.
Left 5 gears back to the internal script. We talked about the thermostat, but the source material goes into something called identity recoding.
Yes.
This sounds a bit like brainwashing yourself, doesn't it?
In a sense, it is. It is selective self-programming. Because if you don't program yourself, the world will gladly do it for you.
Oh, absolutely.
And the world, especially the world of social media, does not have your best interests at heart.
Man, I can't even imagine doing this in the TikTok era. It used to be you just had to deal with the press. Now, you have a bad heat. You open your phone to 10,000 strangers analyzing your body language and telling you you're washed up.
That is the modern gladiator arena. And this is where the protective shield of identity comes in.
How so?
If your identity is built on external validation, saying, I am a winner because people cheer for me, then social media is kryptonite. One bad comment cracks your entire foundation.
Because you've basically outsourced your thermostat to the crowd.
Precisely. But if you have undergone identity recoding, your belief is entirely internal. I am undeniable. I am the standard.
Right.
When that is your script, the external noise just bounces off.
Mm.
The research shows that elite athletes essentially create an alter ego or a fortified version of themselves that is impervious to criticism.
Like how Beyonce has Sasha Fierce.
It's the exact same mechanic.
Mhm.
It's a performance vehicle.
Huh.
But, and this is key, it requires constant maintenance.
You don't just decide one day, hey, I am undeniable and it sticks forever.
No, the brain is plastic. It constantly wants to revert to old familiar patterns.
That brings us to the sustainability piece. Because the Olympics isn't just one 10-second race.
Not at all.
It's weeks of living in the village, sleeping on cardboard beds, eating in a giant cafeteria with your biggest rivals. How did they keep that thermostat cranked up to 90 degrees for a month without completely burning out?
That is the trap of the high. We tend to mistake adrenaline for identity.
Okay.
Adrenaline is a fuel, sure, but it burns dirty and it runs out incredibly fast. You can be hyped up for a day. You cannot be hyped up for 3 weeks straight. You'll crash.
So what's the alternative to hype?
Priming. This is a huge part of the Robbins framework that Olympic coaches have fully adopted.
What is that exactly?
Priming is not meditation. Meditation is usually about emptying the mind, finding calm. Priming is active. It's explosive. It's about flooding the system.
So walk me through a typical priming routine. What are we actually doing?
It's usually a specific sequence.
Uh-huh.
It starts with breath work again, changing the physical state first.
Right.
Then it moves to gratitude,
Yeah.
shifting the focus from what you lack to what you already have, which instantly lowers anxiety.
That makes sense.
And then the critical part, visualization and declaration. You aren't just thinking about the race. You are feeling the wind, smelling the track, feeling the heavy gold around your neck. You are pre-living the victory.
And they do this every single day.
Every single morning. It's hygiene.
Hygiene.
You don't brush your teeth once and say, cool, I'm good for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You have to clear out the plaque every day. Priming clears out the mental doubt. It resets the thermostat to the high setting before the world even has a chance to turn it down.
I love that hygiene analogy because it completely takes the mystique out of it. It's not magic, it's just daily maintenance.
Exactly.
But I want to push back on one thing here. This all sounds fantastic for someone who is already in the top 0.1% of their field.
Sure.
They have actual evidence that they could be the best in the world. But for you listening right now, let's say you're in middle management or you're an aspiring artist who hasn't sold a single painting yet. If you start walking around saying, I am a legend, aren't you just going to look ridiculous?
That is the exact fear that keeps people stuck. The imposter syndrome trap. Who am I to say I'm a leader? I haven't led anything yet.
Right.
But the science is incredibly clear on this. The identity must precede the evidence.
Wait, say that again. The identity must precede the evidence.
Yes. You don't become a leader and then start thinking like one. You start thinking and acting like a leader first, and that behavior generates the results that actually make you a leader.
Ah.
If you wait for the external proof before you change your internal setting, you will be waiting forever.
It's the be do have model. Most people think if I have the gold medal, I will do the interviews and then I will be a champion.
Exactly backwards. It's
Okay.
be first. Be the champion internally. Do the training. Then you have the medal.
Okay, so let's make this totally actionable for everyone listening. The source material outlines a 3-step action plan to bridge this gap between the Olympic podium and the office. Step 1 is the audit.
And this is the painful part. You have to look critically at your life, your bank account, your relationships, your career. And you have to admit that these are a direct reflection of your current thermostat setting.
Ouch. That is harsh. You're saying if I'm broke, it's because my identity is comfortable with being broke?
In a sense, yes. Or at least your identity isn't uncomfortable enough to force a real change. You are tolerating it.
Wow.
The audit is asking yourself honestly, what do I believe about myself that makes this current result acceptable?
Okay, so once we've done the depressing audit and realized we've been setting our own ceiling this whole time, step 2 is the upgrade.
This is the design phase. You have to craft the new identity. And you must be specific, not just, I want to be rich.
Right, that's too vague.
Instead, it's, I am a person who creates massive value in every interaction. I am a person who executes flawlessly under pressure. You are writing the script for the character you actively want to play.
And this connects back to what we said earlier. It's not about your current abilities, it's about your aspirations.
Right. You are projecting forward. You are designing the 2.0 version of the software.
Which brings us to step 3, synergy. Because I can write a great script, but if I don't rehearse it, I'm going to forget all my lines when I get on stage.
Synergy is where the rubber meets the road. It's the daily priming we talked about. It's the physical anchors. It's aligning your biology with that new psychology.
Right.
If you decide, I am a high-energy leader, but you sit slumped in your chair all day, holding your breath and skipping lunch, there is zero synergy. Your body is voting against your mind.
And the body usually wins that vote.
Always. The nervous system is older and stronger than your conscious thoughts. You have to train the body to hold the new frequency.
This is what I find so empowering about this deep dive. We tend to think of talent as this fixed lottery ticket. You either have it or you don't.
Yes.
But what we're seeing is that a huge chunk of what we call talent is actually just software, and software can be rewritten.
It completely democratizes high performance. Look, we can't all run a sub-10-second dash. Biomechanics are a real thing.
Right.
But we can all run our own race faster. We can all operate at the upper limit of our potential rather than the lower limit. And the difference isn't usually more effort. It's less friction.
Less friction between who you are and what you're trying to do.
Exactly. When the thermostat is set correctly, success feels natural. It doesn't feel like a struggle. It feels like you're just doing what you're specifically designed to do.
So as we wrap up this session, I want to leave you, the listener, with something to really chew on. We've talked about anchors, priming, thermostats, but it really all comes down to that story you tell yourself when nobody else is in the room.
That narrative is running 24/7. It is governing your performance right now.
Yeah.
It decided how you walked into the office this morning.
Yeah.
It decided whether you spoke up in that meeting or just stayed quiet.
So here is the provocation for you today. If your identity is a thermostat, and you look at the areas of your life where you feel totally stuck, where you feel like you're hitting a glass ceiling, what is the temperature actually set to?
And more importantly, what is the specific I am statement that is keeping you stuck there? Is it, I am not a math person, I'm not creative, I am just an assistant?
Identify that statement, and then ask yourself, if I could reach into the wiring right now, rip that old statement out and replace it with the exact opposite, what would happen today? Not in 4 years, today.
Change the setting, change the result.
It's been a wild ride through the psychology of gold. Thanks for diving deep with us.
See you next time.